Alright everyone, I've spoken before about the concept of a lie by structure. That is, you're saying things that are true, but, in the context of an actual written article. People read, of course, the stuff at the top, or at the left side, first, and then they move on through the article. Because people have a limited attention span, if you have, therefore, a long enough article, the vast majority of people in our low attention span society will only read the headline and the subtitle and sometimes like the first paragraph. That's where 50% of people ended. Another like 20-30% of what's left probably ended after the second, and so on forth. By the time you get near the end of the article, it's like nobody's paying attention. Especially if you get a bunch of graphics and pictures and stuff and it looks like a miniaturized book or something. We saw this the other day from the New York Times with regards to an article they wrote about Nikki Haley, which was briefly trending. Honestly, it began trending more because people were criticizing it, including people from the left. In all honesty, giving credit here, there were people on the left that were like, come on, this is really, really a reach. What happened is Nikki Haley, apparently her State Department, back in 2016, while Obama, by the way, was the president, Trump was not the president. He had no political power at the time. There was an order that went in for some curtains for, I guess, her offices. And the cost was inordinate. It was like $50,000+ for a bunch of fucking curtains. Now, why can't they just go to Office Depot or something? Who knows? They could literally look it up on eBay and they can buy curtains anywhere in the world. Now, the concept of government contracts and government spending in that capacity, that's where a lot of our waste really ends up happening. A lot of the money that we piss away on government and military is from that. They should be forced to buy it in the free market like everyone else. You need 100 hammers for the U.S. Navy? Go to Home Depot. It's as simple as that. It'll cost 1/10 the amount. It'll be just as effective. You're crazy if you think that it becomes special because you paid more for it. That's not the way that reality works. In fact, we have problems all the time with stuff needing to be replaced, mainly because they want it replaced every other year. Every time you get a new president, they want to redecorate the White House practically. I think that's should be a dying tradition. They should leave it the way it is. Formulate one very neutral, nonpartisan sort of decor scheme and leave it that way for the next 100 years. It'd be a great thing. But what the New York Times said is, Nikki Haley, in the present tense, Nikki Haley ran up, tens of thousands of dollars on State Department curtains. Technically speaking, that's true, but they omitted several important facts until the 6th paragraph of this article. Number one, it happened when Obama was president. They left that out because they wanted their readership, the low info readers, to think, hey, Trump greenlighted this. He's a big spender. Nikki Haley is a big spender. Number two, Nikki Haley herself didn't greenlight it at all. She simply didn't cancel the order. But Nikki Haley has a lot of work to do. I'm sure that a staffer handles that. The staffer would have to approach her and say, hey, do you still want this order from 2 years ago? Because it's, it got greenlit by the Obama admin. So you've got a real big problem. And third, technically they're not her curtains at all anyway. These are a general purchase for the State Department. So the article is a lie. But it's not a lie because it's actually making false claims. Nowhere does it say, Trump greenlit this. No, Nikki Haley signed off on this. And so forth, or these were for her personal home. It doesn't make that claim. It insinuates it, though. It misleads the reader into believing that's the fact because it presents something that technically is dated and technically was not directly involved with Nikki Haley's own judgment, her own green lighting. Technically speaking, it simply insinuates that that's the case without using that terminology. But what are you going to think when you read that headline? And a lot of people, at least a large minority of people, and they shouldn't do this, but they do only read the headline or the little blurb about it that they see associated with the story on Twitter, like being liberal says Trump's approval is low, and then you go to the actual article. It's 1 poll out of 10 that was conducted in that fucking weekend. But they'll take it as though they'll take it to the bank. They actually believe it, even though it's technically false. It's not part of an aggregate. It's a lie. And so specifically in that sense, it's a lie by omission. As in you're omitting 9 or 10 other metrics that totally disagree with you. And lies by omission happen even more often. The New York Times, if it doesn't want to report on something because it's positive for Trump. Say wages are rising, which they are right now. But if you're a New York Times reader, you may not know that fact, because if they report on it at all, it's going to be on the third page. You have to click through to find the article, specifically go to their like financial page, and then right at the bottom they'll say, oh yeah, wages are rising again. But by the way, it's the Obama economy kicking back in. It's not the Trump economy anymore. Things are going well, it's always the Obama economy. They've done this with polling. They don't report on polls that come out from reliable firms like YouGov. By the way, the most reliable firm in the 2016 election, one of the most reliable prior to that in both the midterms and 2012. YouGov was on top of the world. Like, everyone should be counting it as worth more in their aggregates that they spin off, all their unskewed polls, like the fucking Karl Roves and Nate Silvers of the world that don't know their ass from their face. But nobody ever reports on it because it shows a more rosy picture for Trump than, say, Gallup right now, or maybe Marist, CNN. It's always very funny. But lie by structure has gained more and more dominance over time. In the tech world, people get the news story on their phone, they're scrolling, they're walking along, they're only paying attention to a few sentences, they think that they know the whole story. And these groups, these for-profit, multinational communications corporations that we call the media, the corporate media, that component of it within the United States or anywhere else in the world, it's not just a problem here, and it's not really a partisan issue, it's just that most of them tend to support the left right now because the left is more friendly towards their corporations. We just saw Les Wexley. He's worth over $6 billion, right? He's an octogenarian, old, rich dude. He says, well, I heard an Obama speech. I'm leaving the Republican Party. But he's a Romney and Jeb Republican. Nobody bothers to mention that in their write-ups. They think Republican. Oh, yeah, he must have been a Trump fan. He just got turned off. No, he's a neocon. He's a war hawk, corporate venturist. In the Mitt Romney vein, a very, very rich person. He makes Mitt Romney look impoverished. He's got the kind of wealth that someone like Trump himself has. He's more like a Bloomberg or a Trump. He's a massive billionaire. It's not just, oh yeah, I got $1 million. No, he's like, hey, I just spent $1 billion the other day. I bought my own country. I can do it again tomorrow and every day this week, and I'll still have money left over if I want to. Buy my own economy. That's how he is. The left is somehow happy about this. It's like the Bush Republicans are leaving for the Democratic Party, which makes sense since they're corporate liberals. But yeah, the Nikki Haley story was very funny. And you can, by the way, you can definitely say, hey, no, the curtains shouldn't have been purchased. And hey, they still should have been. Under an ideal system, she wouldn't have purchased the curtains. She would have crossed that off and said, no, we don't really need $50,000 curtains for this office building. That would be, you can criticize that, but it wasn't mainly her call, and it didn't happen under the Trump admin. So it's a misleading article. I happen to believe that we should slash the cost of government by 50% across the board. I think a lot of the bureaus shouldn't even exist. Politicians shouldn't get pensions. Most government workers in the bureaucratic sense shouldn't get pensions. They should have private health care plans, Congress and all these others. We need to spend less on military contracting. It's easier to buy things whenever possible. In the free market, it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Instead of paying $200 for the fucking submarine toilet bowl, you can literally go down and spend $30 and get the same fucking shit. It's not like there's a shortage of toilet bowls. Look, in the private marketplace, there tends to be a lot of wasteful creation. The opposite is true. Don't fucking tell me that we need to have a contract specifically or we'll run out of hammers for the U.S. Army. Or Congress, oh my God, there's not enough crack in the halls of Congress. Just go out and buy it in an alley like a normal person. That's about all. Peace out.